to North Carolina, and like 7 of them being confirmed tornadoes, I think the tornado threat was actually quite a bit higher than I was initially expecting. It was pretty bad.
All right.
Well, I will say this, and the reason why for that is because there was a lot when Debbie was redoing her center. She didn't really have the big convection until pretty much near landfall. So what you ended up seeing was is that the dry air ended up getting towards some of the rain, while the supercells in the storm in the right band that were able to materialize. I saw the TDSs; they were actually pretty extreme for tropical tornadoes. So yes, what you saw there was the more mature supercells on the right side getting their act together, while most of your heavy rain didn't happen until it was making landfall. So it ended, and because it was moving faster due to the trough, you had a little bit less rain. Areas in Virginia, though, have not gotten so lucky as you did.
Yeah. All right. Justin, do you have any more you'd like to add?
Oh, that's pretty much it.
All right. Okay, so Brendan, you've been listening to all of this. You know what's been going on with Debbie. What is your kind of input in regards to what's going on, what will be going on before we pivot to the Caribbean?
Yeah, so, well, like you alluded to, Pat, I think everybody here did a great job, especially those that have observed this on the ground and describing what this system has done. And I think this needs to be, for those that are watching the live stream, just a lesson, a really tough lesson to know. And that is, a lot of times we think about tropical storms as not being severe. I would actually argue the opposite. In this case, we had some pretty severe flooding, and we're still seeing that today. That especially was true for the folks in the Carolinas, especially coastal Carolinas. And that was a problem because it was further exacerbated by people not evacuating because it's a tropical storm. It's no big deal. But unfortunately, we lost lives because there were a lot more people out on the roads, a lot more people that perished due to the flooding. So I think, Debbie, when it's all said and done, I don't think this is going to be considered a retired storm, especially since this isn't technically historic flooding compared to what the Carolinas have seen in the past. However, I think this will serve as a system where people look back and go, you know what? When you have a system that goes quasi-stationary, it can still be pretty lethal, especially when we're talking about rainfall and even tornadoes, as we've seen.
Absolutely.
Yes, there was the first death by a tornado, unfortunately, in North Carolina.
Yep. Yes, and our heart, thoughts, and prayers do go out to their family.
Yeah.
So, yes.
And that's why we say tropical tornadoes should not be taken light. I know they're tornadoes, but I think what people don't realize is that, in my opinion, tropical tornadoes are different than normal tornadoes. Why is that? It's because they're more low top. You can't really get a sense of the rotation most of the time on the velocity radar. So National Weather Service offices sometimes have to guess and hope they make the right decision. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but it's not their fault because it's low top. This is why we say take every tornado warning seriously and make sure you have a safe place to go.
All right.
Yes. I'm sorry I came in randomly. First of all, good evening. Can I have a say-so on something real quick?
Go ahead, Mia.
Well,
go ahead.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. So I think it's been a busy evening. There has been several tornado warnings in North Carolina, Virginia. Some of them have touched down and produced a good amount of damage. And it's interesting because I had 2 rotations come over my house, and like Tristan said on how quickly they formed, it was so quick I didn't even know that was here until it came over my house. So for those of you in the Virginia, North Carolina,
Washington,
Maryland-ish, DC, and Delaware-ish area, y'all need to keep an eye out tonight for the chance.
Yeah, I know.
Nighttime rotations.
Go ahead, Sonny.
Yeah.
And
flooding. Oh, sorry. You almost done? Sorry.
Yes, I'm finished.
Sorry, my bad, Mia. Okay.
You're fine.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Yep, bye, Mia. All right, Sonny, you've been waiting for a while. Would you like to add any final thoughts before we move on?
Yeah, I just keep watching that tornado threat over my area. My friends are engaged tonight.
You're cutting out.
Yeah, my friends are engaged tonight.
Oh, one more thing. One more thing.
What's up?
Those supercells in Virginia look like they have that fierce look already, heading up towards the coast.
Yeah, I'm seeing it.
Yeah, those mature storms. You see how the dry air is taking out a lot of the shower activity and leaving the strongest cells to be able to mature. That's what's going on. So they're likely developing their updrafts now. I expect a few tornado warnings issued by NWSDC pretty soon. Wakefield just did multiple flash flood reports. New flood warning for Newcastle County, Delaware until 12 a.m. I will be looking out. Since I am under the tornado watch until 7, I am paying close attention. So if we do get a tornado warning, I will sadly have to interrupt. But unless we get a tornado warning, I think it's time for unless anyone has any thoughts, unless the disturbance in the Caribbean and the future of the African monsoon with the waves.
All right. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and pivot over to there. Thank you very much for that,
Tristan.
Tristan.
This took longer than expected.
No, this is fine. This is fine. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to what I think a lot of you guys clicked on and wanted me to cover. I wanted to take the first 15 minutes to kind of cover what was going on with Debbie because of the flash flood risk and the tornado risk. And I also have some contributors from Maryland, D.C., and Virginia in here that wanted to requested to talk about this. So
I want to ask a question. I apologize. Do tropical supercells rotate?
Yes.
They rotate. It depends on the atmosphere around the tropical system. If it's a hurricane or a tropical storm that doesn't have any interaction, they do spin, but they mostly spin low top. Now, let's say it's going for an ex-tropical transition. Then, if they're able to get the right structure and the right combo, Barrel was a perfect example of the trough dry air combo with the ex-tropical transition, as it was coming from a tropical storm towards its remnants. Perfect example of when you get the right conditions. But most tropical tornadoes are low top and weak. Not all of them, but most of them. But yes, they do rotate, and they're very tricky to warn. So if you're under a tornado warning, even if nothing happens, just be safe. Go to the lowest level of your home, basement, first floor is fine. No windows, no mobile homes. Try not to drive in the tropical supercell, as heavy downpours will make the tornado not visible.
All right, thank you very much, Tristan. And with that note, we will move on to what we've been kind of watching over the last couple of days with this area of interest. But Palm Tree, Tristan, if any tornadoes warnings or any Debbie-related warnings do go into effect, you are free to interrupt and let us know immediately. But anyway.
All right.
But anyway, here's the situation that we have. The odds on this development have been surging since this thing was tagged at 2 a.m. last night. We were at 20% probability of formation when this thing was first tagged. Now we're at 50%. And this has been going up and up and up and up and up for the last 18 hours. And so I'm going to go ahead and read out to you what the NHC is saying right here, which is expected near the Lesser and Greater Antilles. A tropical wave located over the tropical Atlantic several hundred miles west-southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands is producing widespread disorganized showers and thunderstorms. Any development of the wave should be slow to occur during the next couple of days while it moves westward across the central tropical Atlantic. Afterward, conditions are expected to become more conducive for development, and a tropical depression could form while it approaches the Lesser Antilles by early next week. The system is then forecast to move generally west-northwestward and could approach the Greater Antilles by the middle part of next week. Once again, we have a 50% chance of formation in the next 7 days, 0 in the next 48 hours, or near 0, that is. But regardless, we've been watching it for the last couple of days. I've been talking about it for the last couple of days. They finally tagged it, which, by the way, I do want to make a correction for
the process for me.
Yeah. Okay. What's up?
How am I able to track the invest? Because I can't see it on Tropical Tempest right now.
It's on NHC website right now. You can also use that. That's what we've been doing. So, yeah. In the meantime, though, part of the reason it's not really going to develop over the next couple of days is predominantly because because where it's at right now. It's first of all, it's not really that organized. It doesn't even have that much rotation going on. It has a little bit, but it's not like Debbie where this thing was off the bat going in guns blazing and it was showing a lot of signs of rotation before eventually organizing and developing south of Cuba. This is going to take time. Yes,
So
what's up?
look, it's so expanded.
Yeah. Okay. In the meantime, okay. Thank you for that. Thank you for letting me know. But yeah, that's part of the first reason. That is. Second reason, and I want to check this very quickly, where kind of in the context of where it's at right now. There is some wind shear surrounding it from both the north and the south, and this is going to be moving through a relatively unfavorable wind shear pattern, at least for the next 48 hours. However, as we reported in today's video, the wind shear afterward is expected to be relatively good for tropical development. I can go ahead and show you that again. We can show you the shear and the moisture forecast. Actually, I'm going to use the 18Z Euro since I'm going to pull this up anyway. But here's the shear that we're looking at for the next 90 hours at least, just to kind of give you a scope of just how this thing will potentially play out right here. So here's the Euro right here. In the next 60 hours, it's moving through a relatively strong area of wind shear, at least to the south of it. However, and I am a little curious, Tristan, about this wind shear pocket to the northwest of that. What are your thoughts on this? If you're looking at the Euro, and what are your thoughts on kind of how this could potentially affect the storm? I wanted your thoughts on that. If you can pull it up.
Back again.
Okay. Oh, there he is. Apparently, I can send it to you. I can send it to you.
Respectfully, can you repeat the question? I'm sorry, I was so.
That's fine. So what I sent in VC No Mike is the Europeans 18Z shear forecast model, and I wanted your opinion on one area of wind shear that I'm paying attention to. One of the area of wind shear that I'm taking a look at is the area northwest of the area of interest, about I'd say 3 days out from there. If you take a look at that and move it that far out, what are your thoughts on kind of the angle and kind of how the shear is looking at this point? How do you think this could affect tropical development at that current stage?
It looks like an upper low actually developing.
Yeah,
north of Puerto Rico, and then that's very interesting.
All right.
I don't know actually.
Yeah, I just thought I'd ask.
Apologize. I have not looked at the models ever since Debbie decided to show.
Yeah, I understand. That's completely understandable due to obvious reasons. But
of course, it depends on shear angles can help brief outflow for tropical systems.
Yep.
We saw that during Barrel. So, what the biggest question would be is not if there's any shear, but what angle is it, and how close is if it organizes the center of circulation when it eventually forms is to the area where the wind shear is happening. Because if it's not getting sheared, and then that wind shear angle from the upper level low is helping it breathe, it's helping its outflow, then it can definitely organize and use its warm waters to an advantage. And another thing that I don't even talked about yet is, let's see, Atlantic dust.
What's up?
Saharan dust forecast. Let me check.
Oh yeah, the Sahara dust. That's one thing I was looking at earlier today.
But the thing is that when a storm is starting to people, you don't really want. You wanted to organize, and then depending on where the wind shear is.
You're cutting out, Tristan, by the way.
Oh, I'm cutting out? Oops.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, that's better. Okay. There is some Saharan dust still, so if the shear is really in a bad angle, this system really won't have a chance to fight the dry air because it's not wind shear by itself, depending on the strength. A lot of the time, tropical systems die from a combo of dry air and wind shear. it's never really one or the other unless it's really tough on, or unless it has a very unique angle to the system
All right.
as it's developed.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at. I thought that was kind of interesting as well. There's still some Sahara dust in the Atlantic right now. That's usually corrects itself and it gets blocked out by the end of August. So overall, what are your overall? And this is an open-ended question for everybody in here. What are your overall thoughts of kind of how we're seeing the ensembles? Because a lot of these models have been screaming that this thing is potentially developing. Like I have the 18Z European ensembles pulled up. The vast majority of these concentrated are over but the Lesser Antilles, Puerto Rico, and some have it over Hispaniola, some of which have it stronger than a lot of the other previous runs do. So what is your overall take on all these models that we're seeing just screaming that something's about to happen?
I would like to say, for people in the Caribbean, as we always say, you should have your hurricane preparation. You
Yes.
should be always ready for a tropical system in this time of. The thing that a lot of people don't do is wait until the center of circulation forms. Until we have that center, and until we know where the upper level low is going to be, we can't tell you the strength. Could the models be having a bias with the time of year, how warm the waters are? They could, but you should be ready for any range of a storm, any time of year in the tropics, especially during this time of year. So, no matter what the models show, you should be paying attention and knowing what to do.
All right. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll just make a quick.
Go ahead,
comment
Brendan.
Here. I know that somebody else that wants to jump in. I would actually. Is there somebody hot micing right now?
It's Sunny. I'm good. Yes. Hey, Sunny. Could you, if you're not going to be, if you're not going to be speaking for the time being, we're hearing background noise from you. Okay. Thank you for muting. I appreciate that.
So, so just a comment to bounce off of what Tristan said. Look, I think I would tend to disagree, Tristan, on sort of the bias part. That the models could be biased towards getting towards the peak of the season. And look, I think a lot of the ingredients right now are coming together. We talked just now about the Saharan dust. The amplitude of that Sahara dust is what's critical. We've seen that decrease contrast to what we saw all throughout July, which pretty much correlates to what we typically would see climatologically with Sahara dust. Right around middle of August, early September, is typically when we do see that begin to somewhat subside in amplitude. So that's number one. Number two, with this area of high pressure out in the Atlantic, sort of a retrograding of that mid-level ridge eastward would essentially promote additional convergence out in the Atlantic basin. Also, combine that with a pretty good parameter space that doesn't have a lot of shear intruding on the convection for the most part. Shear tendency is actually pretty decent. So we certainly are going to be looking at development. Tristan, I do want to say, though, and I'm certainly not disagreeing with my friend Tristan completely, because one thing he is correct about is that we really are talking in the hypothetical. We don't have anything right now that we can concretely say is a low pressure. It's a lot of open wave convection and some clustering we're seeing. Not anything substantial as of yet. But I think the important thing that people have to take away from this is that the promotion and the repositioning of that high pressure in the Atlantic, coupled with a subsiding of the stronger amplitude Saharan dust and a decreasing of wind shear, is creating an environment that will be conducive for development. And that's exactly why the National Hurricane Center continues to up its probabilities for 7-day development near the Lesser Antilles just today. Right? We've seen that actually increase over the last several hours. So confidence continues to grow. But I will say it's better to be prepared than sorry. Folks in the Lesser Antilles need to definitely be mindful of this. And for folks in the United States that may be quick to jump to conclusions on what we're looking at, just know there's not anything just yet, but you certainly want to keep a very close eye on the Atlantic basin here over the next couple of weeks, because things could get really interesting.
All right. Thank you very much for that. We have Weather Kingdom, who is finally back on the stream tonight. Weather Kingdom, say hello to the audience.
Hello, everybody.
All right. Before we turn to you, I know Palm Tree wanted to say something. Go ahead.
I agree with what both Brendan and Tristan are saying. Because in hindsight, yeah, you can't. What Tristan's saying, yeah, you can't go based off what the models are saying and just say, "Hey, folks, we're gonna have this da string." You gotta wait and see how it plays out. But just know that you're gonna have something that's gonna be at the magnitude of a depression or storm or whatever. You gotta focus on what's ahead. And I think what Brendan is saying is that in the next couple of weeks, things can get interesting. So you might want to pay attention in the next couple of weeks to what correlates to the pattern and what happens. So yeah, we're gonna have an interesting couple of weeks. So keep your seatbelts buckled.
Absolutely. Okay.
And for the people in the Southeast United States, pay attention. After what happened with Debbie, I hope people have learned that even a tropical storm, depending on the mesoscale and the factors of the atmosphere surrounding it, can be very bad. And this is one of the things I worry about. It doesn't mean it's gonna happen. Don't freak out. I remember when Dennis of 1999 ended up doing the same thing, and then after that we have Floyd just a week or two later. I'm not saying that's gonna happen. But what I'm saying is, if a really strong storm, if we are confident in development, and if we are confident in this track, I'm really worried about the Southeast because they just had a taste of a Cat 1 hurricane that was supposed to be for Florida, was supposed to be